In 1954, before the James Bond film franchise became a cinematic juggernaut, Russian actor-director Gregory Ratov saw potential in Ian Fleming's debut spy novel, Casino Royale. But Ratov wasn't interested in Bond as Fleming wrote him. He didn't like the book. It was dry, too British, too masculine, in a way that didn't excite him. Instead, he floated a radical idea for the time. Recast Bond as a woman, Jane Bond. Ahead of his era but out of step with the source material and commercial trends, Ratov could never find the money to make it happen. He died in 1960, and with him, so too died the first cinematic attempt at adapting Casino Royale. Enter Charles K. Feldman, a Hollywood player with a taste for complicated deals and bruised egos. Feldman, who had represented Ratov, purchased rights from Ratov's widow. By that point, the rest of Ian Fleming's novels had been scooped up by Harry Saltzman and Albert Cubby Broccoli, with one notable exception, Thunderball, which was ensnared in a years-long battle over co-ownership. Feldman approached Saltzman and Broccoli, proposing a co-production. He didn't want to compete. He wanted a seat at the table, willing to split the profits. But Saltzman and Broccoli declined, determined to focus on Her Majesty's Secret Service before tackling Casino Royale. In 1967, he released a sprawling, surreal parody of Casino Royale, which featured an all-star cast: Peter Sellers, David Niven, Orson Welles, multiple actors playing James Bond, and a hallucinatory tone that satirised the very idea of espionage, sex, and Cold War masculinity. The film was a box office curiosity and a critical mess, but a unique artefact. It was a cinematic act of defiance, a Bond film made against Bond. Tarantino enters the ring. Flash forward to the mid-1990s, Quentin Tarantino, riding high from Pulp Fiction and reconfiguring the entire language of independent American cinema, was obsessed with the character, tension, and genre subversion. He saw Casino Royale, Fleming's first and rawest novel, as a story that ground Bond in a real emotional tragic framework. He didn't want to make another action blockbuster. He wanted to make a period piece. Noir, intimate, lethal. Tarantino's pitch was revolutionary. Set in the 1960s, post on Her Majesty's Secret Service, Bond is emotionally broken, not yet the suave, invincible figure pop culture knows. The death of Tracy Bond still haunts him. Shot in black and white, capturing the European noir atmosphere, recalling The Third Man and early Hitchcock. Return to Baccarat, the original game in the novel. Not Texas Hold'em, not gadget-fueled mayhem, but quiet, psychological warfare at the card table. Minimalist action, no lasers, no invisible cars, no satellite death rays, just brutal, efficient violence when necessary. A tragic romance. Bomb falls for Vesper Lynn, but she is doomed. Her suicide, reimagined, would be intimate and devastating. No collapsing buildings, just a bathtub, a note, and Bond realising he can never allow himself to love again. Tarantino wanted Uma Thurman as Vesper, a sharp, mysterious, luminous femme fatale who could match Bond emotionally and intellectually. Samuel L. Jackson as Felix Leiter, cool, dry, American protagonist, with Tarantino's signature dialogue style, and for Bond, Pierce Brosnan. Brosnan's last chance at greatness. Brosnan, by then an established Bond, had just come off The World Is Not Enough and Die Another Day, films that, especially the latter, leaned into cartoonish territory, ice palaces, CGI surfing, invisible cars. Brosnan had played Bond with style, but the scripts gave him little emotional range. He was ready for something more. When Tarantino approached him, Brosnan reportedly loved the idea. This was his chance to play Bond for real, to show the scars, the soul, the pain. A performance-driven 007 film stripped down to its essence. Tarantino wanted to direct it himself and demanded full creative control, something Eon Pictures had never allowed the director to have. But Brosnan's time was up. His contract with Eon was over. His new agent was playing hardball, seeking a higher fee. Meanwhile, Barbara Broccoli, now firmly in charge of the Bond franchise, had decided to reboot. She wanted a younger Bond, a grittier Bond, a new Bond. And perhaps more importantly, a Bond that could sell watches, cars and vodka in a modern setting. A 1960s period piece couldn't easily be branded. Product placement was a major source of funding, and a black and white film would alienate broader audiences and complicate marketing deals. Despite Tarantino's passion, despite Brosnan's support, the idea was dismissed. Eon retook the rights to Casino Royale and moved forward with their own reboot. In 2006, Casino Royale was finally adapted faithfully, starring Daniel Craig. A new Bond for a new generation. It was a gritty reboot, and it worked, but it was not Tarantino's film. What could have been? Tarantino's Casino Royale would have been more than a Bond film. It would have been a commentary on the myth of James Bond, a deconstruction of the womanizing assassin, haunted by trauma, incapable of love, locked in a cycle of violence and betrayal. It could have been a character study, not a product. In many ways, Tarantino's vision predated the sensibilities of modern prestige TV and cinema. It foreshadowed the emotional complexity audiences now expect from the long-running IP. Think Joker, The Batman, or Logan, standalone films that strip down icons and find tragedy beneath the myth. Had it been made, it might have changed Bond forever, or perhaps stood as a singular alternate universe gem, but instead it lives in whispers, interviews and speculation. The best Bond film Quentin Tarantino never made.